Well, as the country marks Women's Day tomorrow, attention turns to women's political representation ahead of the 2026 local government elections. While women account for a significant portion of South Africa's electorate, questions remain about whether they have equal opportunities to participate in politics and hold positions of power. We're now joined by the chair in gender politics at Stellenbosch University, Professor Amanda Gouws, to discuss this issue further. Prof, a very good afternoon to your evening, rather, to you, and thank you so much for your time. So what is the landscape of women in politics, and in fact those that participate in matters that influence our countries politically? Tell us, I mean, in the run-up to the elections, for one, we see that more women than men have registered for this upcoming elections.
Well, that is the case every election, that more women register and that they also come out to vote in larger numbers. But I think the issue for women's representation is whether there is some mechanisms in place. Now, on the national level, we have a 50% voluntary quota from the ANC, and that has led to 45% women represented on the national level. Our electoral system on the local government level is different, however. We have a dual system or a mixed system in which women are elected on a proportional list, but also in wards. And what we've seen is that right now we have 39% women in local government and only 32% in leadership positions. And the statistic is much lower for women who compete against men in the ward system. So we also see that the numbers have come down since from 2016 to 2021, from to 24% for the PR system in 2021, and only to 12% in the ward system in 2021. Yeah. So now it is 5 years later, and we are actually, on the eve of a local government election, and we need to ask the question, how are women going to fare in this election, especially in the ward system?
Yeah. And I mean, to your point, one has been reading, of course, that trends suggesting that women's share of councillors has also been sliding backwards since 2006, although in some earlier years there were some improvements. But why is it that while women account for a significant portion of South Africa's electorate, they don't necessarily have that equal opportunity to hold those positions of power?
Well, I mean, the problem is really taking women seriously as politicians. And I've done a study on attitudes towards women in politics. And what it shows us is that there are still a significant number of men, but also of women, who think that men just make more important and significant leaders in politics. But I also think the coming down of the numbers in the local government elections has got to do with coalitions, because where there are a number of parties competing to be part of that coalition, they put forward men as their candidates. And that has significantly decreased the number of women in coalition government. So we will have to think about how we are actually including women in coalition governments on the local level.
Yeah. And I mean, that was going to be my next question, seeing these reports that suggest that with coalition governments increasingly deciding who runs municipalities, women could then systematically be left behind. Those closed-door coalition talks that we often see post-election election day. I mean, just how big a problem is that, coalition governments further stalling the progress of women?
I really think it's a significant problem. We have seen some women mayors, but I think also that where we see that women have to be part of some patronage networks very often, and loyal to the party that put them forward, they cannot really stand on their own platforms. And I think this is a big problem, because local government is the closest to the people. It's about service delivery, and it's about agendas that women can set, like issues around basic needs, water, electricity, housing, and so on. And women are the people who do the care work in the home and who are in need of those services. And we've seen many women being on the front lines of service delivery protest. So one need to understand that when women go into a local government, they can actually set the agenda around basic services. But if they don't get the chance to be elected, then those issues that they can actually put on the political agenda falls by the wayside. And I think this is really a serious problem. Of course, even when they do get into local government, patronage networks are very important and loyalty to the party is very important. So it makes it quite difficult for women to act as independent from their parties.
Absolutely. It speaks to the question then of, once you are in, what happens to you and what are the barriers in there, that will then prevent the kind of retention that one would see. But Prof, that's all the time we have this afternoon. Thank you so much for your time, Professor Amanda Gouws, speaking to us then, of course, from the University of Stellenbosch.